Hi, welcome to Coast Connection. I'm Paul Winn. Today we're going to have a discussion with a very interesting group, but first I want to tell you that if you have some suggestions or ideas that you'd like to see on Coast Connections that you think the population on the island would be interested in, get in touch with us. Anyhow, today we have two lovely people to talk with about the Nanaimo Community Kitchens Society, and I have the Executive Director, Anita Smith, and Kathy Torium, the treasurer, the money lady, very important aspect. Well, welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by getting a sense and an idea of what does the society do?
Well, Nanaimo Community Kitchens is all about getting people together to cook together. And so we have different programs for different ages and stages of life, we like to say. And it's about trying recipes, making them from scratch, but actually the participants do the cooking, they do the cleanup, they learn about food safety, food storage, but they get in the group and they're doing the cooking themselves. And we start with basic ingredients like macaroni and cheese and maybe hamburger and lots of fruit and vegetables. Make your own type craft dinner thing or skillet meal or whatever it is that sometimes the group decides or wants to try. And so it's a hands-on cooking from basic foods, and in the process you learn about how to choose healthier foods, how to read a lot of those food packages, because food companies want to sell you a product, they don't want to necessarily make you healthy. So looking for fat, sugar, and salt on those labels is part of the whole process as well. And when people get together to cook together, they're also learning from each other. They're learning how, just as children learn to socialize in school, people in our cooking groups learn to socialize, and they get the benefit of interacting with others, and that's a huge part of our cooking groups.
Do they bring their own food?
No, they don't. So that's a good question. In all of our groups, some of our groups there is a cost. They pay for maybe their share of the food, and there might be a shopper. A lot of our groups are free, and I might be the one doing the shopping or someone else does the shopping.
Okay.
So different groups operate differently. Sometimes the group decides from one time to another what they're making the next time, and there is a lot of discussion around what to choose to cook. So it's a chance to try new foods, something they've never tried before. Today I had a group, we did tofu stir fry, and a lot of people in the group had never eaten tofu.
Yeah.
Some liked it, some didn't, but at least they had the opportunity to try it.
Sure.
And so, that's a whole part of all
And is
of
it
our
the same
cooking.
place? I mean, is it always in the same location?
That's a good question too. We have our office at the Pine Street, at the Food Share Center on Pine Street, and that's our home base. We do some cooking there. We do cooking throughout the community, and that's our strength, is we can go into the community where there's a need, and maybe there's a kitchen that is accessible and there's a group of people interested in cooking there. We can sometimes start new groups or help mentor groups to start up. We do a lot of our programs at the Princess Royal Family Center, which is the south end of town. It is an island health facility, and they let us use the space at no cost. So it's a huge plus for us, a huge benefit. We get that in kind, and we do a lot of programs there. Princess Royal Family Center offers other programs through Island Health for young families, and so our cooking programs there, we have one that focuses on young families. That's called Bellies to Babies and Beyond.
Okay.
And so parents might come to the center for the first time and hear about all the other supports there, immunizations and weighing babies and dental and mother's wellness, prenatal lunch. So there's a lot of other programs there. Or they might be going to those other island health programs, smell the cooking, hear about it, and want to get involved with the cooking program.
That would stir my interest, the smell.
And so the staff there has to put up with the smells too. It's like, what are you making today? We share recipes a lot, but so it's kind of a win-win,
I like that.
We promote and they promote, right? So that's one really neat and exciting location that we have. We have some at churches.
I was going to ask Kathy a question about, obviously this requires financing.
It certainly does.
What sort of things do you have to do to get some money in the
Well,
door?
I'm basically look after the money, but the whole board works together in raising money. No, I'm just the numbers counter, the bean counter. And so We get a huge support from the Gaming Corporation. That's a large amount. We do programs that are funded by United Way. That's cooking out of the box, and maybe Anita can talk a little bit more about that. And then we have very generous donors in the community who, when we do our fundraising in the fall, might take that opportunity
to give. Who are some of the donors?
Who do we have?
Sometimes I apply for grants. So last year we got the TELUS Community Grant. We had to apply for that, write an application, and we were successful with that. The First West Foundation, Island Savings, we got some funding from them last year.
Yeah.
Sometimes churches, individual churches, I'll go present to Rotary or some of the service clubs, Zonta, Kiwanis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go and present to them, talk to them about community kitchens, and they will donate to us. It's not just a magic wand, here you get funding and go do the work, but it's networking and talking to different groups and agencies, individuals, right? So we have some that give us a donation every year, maybe $20, $25, $50, but that all helps, it all adds up.
Sure.
So yeah, we appreciate all of our
I'm kind of curious
supporters.
about the, like the participants. How do they find you? I guess do you have any idea of how
that's a
that
good
happens?
question.
We have a pamphlet that they see when they might come to Princess Royal for another program. They might see this. We have a website. We're on Facebook. And so using some social media, we hear about it. The nurses at prenatal classes might tell the young moms about community kitchens so that they could come and join in that. We have a seniors group, and seniors might tell one another as they're at another seniors event about cooking together, because many are on their own, and I now find myself on my own, and cooking for one person is really not as much fun as cooking for a family.
I would think.
And so the seniors enjoy getting together and sharing recipes, talking about how they used to cook and how they cook now, and
well,
it works
I can
well.
relate to that, Kathy, because I can tell you that, I think I eat probably 1/3 of what I used to eat, when I was younger. I mean, I even if you put it in front of me, I couldn't eat it. I couldn't finish it if I ate the same portions. So it kind of, it's taken a little lesson to learn. Okay, don't be so greedy, kid, because it might end up being wasted. And I don't like that.
I find a lot of seniors, especially, do not want to waste food. So
that's right.
Tips of how to make their food, how to use it before it gets bad, or throw it in the freezer, do things like that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of important, because I think that I was gonna. How about people? Have you ever had people who've sort of like diabetics, who suddenly have a change of life, and they discover they're type 2 diabetics and need a special diet, or
So in all of our programs, we talk about healthy eating, basically following recommendations through the Canada Food Guide and dietitians and things, and don't necessarily focus on one specific person. Someone in the group had kidney disease, so they were told by the health professionals that he needed to eat a certain way. I'm not going to argue against that, right?
No.
It's all about just general healthy eating.
Yes.
And also then moving more, exercising, going for your daily walks, whatever. We certainly promote that. So active lifestyles, healthy eating. And if you do that, for most of the major illnesses, heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, you're ahead of the game, right? Don't smoke, drink lots of water. And that's kind of what we promote in all of our groups, not specific targets. I'm not going to say anything that a health professional, follow the advice.
You're not there to get conflicting information.
It's just healthy eating in general. Eat a variety of fruits and vegetables, focus on those, and maybe less protein. Look what restaurants do. Half your plate is meat.
Yeah.
Should be half fruit or vegetable, right? So that we within our groups promote really healthy eating.
Yeah, I saw a diagram one time. I think it was a third on the plate. I don't know what each
now
third.
Now it's half, quarter.
Oh, okay.
Half your protein or your meat, whatever, half of your carbohydrates, and half of it should be fruits or vegetables.
Okay, so
that's kind of the newer thinking, right?
Okay, that's good, because I just remember this triangle on the plate. Yeah, well, it's kind of neat.
So it's not, it's like, it's again, back to the tofu, or say another odd thing, right? That
Kale.
I've never tried that. I don't want to spend, if I don't have a lot of money,
Yeah.
why would I want to buy it if I may not like it, right?
Yeah.
And my family may not like it. So within the group, we can make split pea soup from scratch or, whatever else. Use lentils, use the dried beans and taste it and use some herbs and spices instead of a lot of salt to flavor things.
Oh, yeah, well, salt, that's another story, as you were mentioning
Yeah.
when they're about packaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being able to read the packaging
yes.
and saying, "Oh, well,
And
this thing
understand
is
what's on
90% salt," or
Yeah,
whatever. And it's important because people, I don't think that when you get, particularly older people, and I don't know about the younger people. When I was young, I ate anything and didn't seem to, unless the taste is the only thing that discouraged me.
Yeah.
And so when you get older, your whole system changes, and you have to be able to discern, okay, this is good for me, this is not good for me, and make that.
It's never too late to learn. Never too late to learn
Yeah.
and to start cooking. I have some seniors in my group who the wife did all the cooking. Well, guess what? She's either passed away or can't do that, and so suddenly, the man's on his own. And so I have, someone in one of my seniors groups who's over 80, right? And he does very well for himself. He cooks, he has an interest, and you're never too old to learn something, right? And to make changes that can be healthy. Another senior is retired. She did not cook for herself at all. She reheated things or ate out or got invited to friends' places where they would cook meals for her, and she did the dishes, and she likes to do dishes.
Okay.
That's great.
But she came to a few programs and is in a regular group. She's taken an interest in cooking, has started cooking for herself. She has regular blood work. For the first time in 3 years, her blood work is within normal range.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know what else she's done, but I do know she's made changes to what she's eating, right? So
Yeah.
it does impact your health, what you're eating, and those small changes, whether it's cutting out the pop, drinking less sugar, eating more fruits and vegetables, watching your salt. Small changes can really impact our health.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a big, so hearing a story like that from someone is really empowering, and it makes me feel good that, hey, we are making an impact, or we're doing things that
I was
are
thinking
great.
that I can remember at one point there was a program I was watching, or in an article I was reading about the importance of understanding what you're reading on the packaging.
Yeah.
Because when you look at them, a lot of people don't understand
That's
what it
right.
says.
Right.
Salt 760. Well, is that good? Is that bad?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What does that mean?
So another story on packaging, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but someone had her children had her convinced that Fruit Loops were healthy.
Yes.
They contained real fruit,
Okay.
and we all know that Fruit Loops is a sugary breakfast cereal. It's not even spelled like fruit. It's
Yes.
a made-up fruit spelling. So if you look at the ingredients, I think the first ingredient is sugar and then probably flour. So
Right.
it's not a healthy breakfast cereal. But we can get hooked on things. Food companies put these things on packages. Natural. What does
Yes.
natural mean? It doesn't mean anything. Our healthiest foods, like an apple or a zucchini or broccoli, doesn't
Yeah.
have a label on it, right? So
Right.
it doesn't tell us everything that's in there that's so healthy for us.
Yeah.
So back to using the basics in our cooking programs, we are using basic foods, meat and vegetables and rice or pasta or whatever. It doesn't have the nutrition facts panel, but it's what it is. It's basic foods. It's got to be healthier.
But I can see what you're doing is valuable. I think about, for instance, people who suddenly have particularly older people like myself, and your system changes, and things you used to be able to eat, aren't any good. A few years ago, I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, and so they said to me, look, it's okay to eat the fruit, but don't drink the juice, because the juice is basically sugar,
Yeah.
And I was always keen to have a
Yeah,
glass of
yeah,
orange
yeah.
juice or a glass of apple juice, something like that. And
That's
thinking,
right.
boy, that's great for me, right?
It's natural,
So
yes.
suddenly
Yeah.
my life took a turn for not the worst, but it took a turn because I now looked at that nice ice cold glass of orange juice and now I had to go eat the apple or peel an orange. And it wasn't the same.
Yeah, so have your nice cold glass of water.
Yeah. Well, no,
with a squirt of lemon in it or something, right?
Well, that was it. And they talked about sugarless pops too. That was another thing they dealt with. That seemed to be okay for some reason. I never questioned it, but they just let
yeah, I don't know. Pop I just call it sugar water.
Yeah,
So, but we haven't really focused on young, pregnant women and young families either, which is kind of the other age spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's good to start off with healthy habits at a young age, especially when you're pregnant for the first time. And our Bellies to Babies and Beyond program is focusing. That's a 10-week weekly program.
Okay.
So some of our programs are once a month, some are weekly. And if we feel that if you can get into some good habits over that 10 weeks, think about cooking from scratch, thinking about choosing healthier things for yourself during pregnancy, or if you have small children, get them interested in the fruits and vegetables, get them interested in cooking with you too. You're setting up, life skills that are hopefully in place for the rest of your life, right? And getting your kids in the kitchen might take longer, it might be a lot messier, but it's one of the best things you can do if you have children, right? Get them interested in what they're eating, get them involved. Children may not like broccoli if it's just served to them, but hey, if you grow broccoli and they're out in the garden picking it and eating it, or then they're in the grocery store saying, buying it, and then seeing how it's cooked.
Small trees we used to. I say, oh, look, I want some of
they
those
are
small trees.
They are small trees.
Because they look
Small
like trees,
trees.
It was funny.
Yeah, so get your kids involved at any age. If they're, in the teen years or whatever, and they turn into picky eaters, get them in the kitchen. What do you want to eat? Get them involved with the decision making, right? And shopping, it's not too early, right, to set up those life skills.
And it's not hard, like I used to think it was really, really rocket science to cook. That was just my impression, because I didn't know how my mom did it. She seemed to be able to, get a number of ingredients and put them together. And she didn't seem to spend a lot of time measuring things, she had, I guess, an instinct of, okay, that's a cup, or me, I need to have those little implements or I can't cook.
Depends what you're making too. And then, so in our programs too, we always have recipes for things.
Right.
And in some of the programs, we actually hand out one of our cookbooks. We developed You Can Cook. It's a plain language, low literacy cookbook. It's on our website, or you can buy it. But the Bellies to Babies, they get that at the end of the 10 weeks. And so all of our recipes that I hand out are sort of plain language, simple to read. Here's teaspoon, tablespoon. If you're making soup, it doesn't really matter about measuring as accurately, but if you're doing cookies or muffins, you might want to measure more accurately. I've had people say, how come my banana bread is always as hard as a brick? So maybe you're doing something a little wrong in that, and so need to take more care in measuring or stirring with that. Soups, casseroles, a pinch of this, a bit of that, whatever, right? But again, if your mom has been doing it for years and years, she's comfortable with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You get a new mom or a new senior cooking for the first time, it's like, I don't want to try that. I don't know what I'm doing. So showing them some skills with trying things, or here's a basic recipe, follow it, and then if you don't like it, you don't have certain items, you can start substituting too, right? Once you maybe make the recipe and then say, hey, I don't like it, I'm going to get rid of that and try something else.
I know when the first time I was on my own, when I became single and out on my own, and I lived on Kraft dinner. It was
Not
like,
good.
I don't know, I just did. Every once in a while, I'd chop up a wiener every once in a while and
Get your
put
good
it in, but that was, it's funny, I never thought about cooking, per se, and I wish you guys had been around then, and I could have,
I've been cooking for many, many years, of course, but I write notes in my recipes and my cookbooks that say, well, this wasn't worth all the work, or it doesn't taste nearly as good as it looks in the recipe, or this was fabulous, make it again.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then I have cookbooks I've had for many years that have my children's comments about what they thought as little kids about the recipes.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder for me if I look at this recipe and think, oh, that'd be good. And then I look at the notes. No, never mind.
I've been forced to cook. My wife has decided that every Friday evening I have to do the dinner. And so
Yeah, there you go.
because I'm like a woman you were mentioning. I do the dishes. You know, whoever cooks doesn't have to do the dishes. So,
well, there you go.
so I try to minimize her use of pots and pans if it's, so that I don't have a lot of work to do. But no, I wanted to talk about the public, how the public might be able to support the activities of your center, even if they don't come as cooking or using, but maybe being donors and
donors is one of the big things. When we do our fundraiser in the fall, there's quite a bit of work involved in setting that. October the 12th, October 12th, that Thursday, and it's at the Queen's. We always have lots of fun. It's beverage and burger and a silent auction. So we have some very generous organizations and merchants in the city that donate wonderful things to us. People themselves can donate gifts, and that to us, perhaps something that they're not using anymore, but is in really good shape. And we have a silent auction, and so people bid on all this kind of thing. And so that's one way people can help us and contact us on our website. And then we always take donations. I wanted to mention earlier that we're a registered charity, so you get a tax receipt for every donation.
Is there a minimum?
No, I have no minimum.
No, I mean, what I mean is before you get a tax receipt.
No. I will happily write a tax receipt. If you're happy to give us money, I'm happy to give you a tax receipt.
No, because that's just my.
And some people do, but we don't. No, we'll give that out. Yeah.
That's great.
And then one of the other things we've been doing is developing some partnerships with the local food bank through Loaves and Fishes. And organizations can go, who need food for their work, like community kitchens, can go at a certain time each week and pick up food that they'll need for the cooking group. So Anita's been able to do that bit of that.
And I noticed that some food groups, thinking of that, they are starting to grow their own produce and stuff, which is kind of nice.
Yes, there's community gardens in the community as well. So, yeah.
But see, these are all sort of very connected. You know what I mean? Like your activities, community gardens. I just think of.
We all do the networking. We're aware of each other and support each other and network and do all that. And we're at community gardens, community kitchens, Food Share Society are all at the Food Share Center, and supportive apartment living. So we do cooking with adults with developmental challenges through supportive apartment living. And there's one group that I haven't mentioned, and that is newcomers to Canada or immigrants, multicultural people in some of our groups. Society. And we get referrals from the Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society.
Right.
In our current Bellies to Babies, we have some Koreans and Chinese. We've had people from all over the world that are interested in learning Canadian cooking. So they're coming from their culture. Sometimes it's their children want to fit in and identify with Canadian cooking and not stand out at their lunches or just,
Well, there are some that require
things.
certain preparation for their food. Is it falafel? No, what's the word I'm thinking of? The preparation of the food has to be a certain way, or it's not. Yeah.
So it's great because it's a two-way learning experience, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a group of ethnicity, people from all sorts of countries, others in the group want to learn, hey, let's learn about Chinese cooking or, Korean, East Indian, whatever,
I'm going to have
right?
to drop in.
You're getting hungry.
Just so I can learn. I mean, I'm a terrible cook. I got to tell you.
You can come to one of our seniors groups.
Yeah, I'm a terrible cook.
We have a couple seniors groups, and some are led by volunteer facilitators. I have a group, the Sizzling Sisters, that are in Harewood. It's their community church, and they've decided they want to do some outreach and maybe start some cooking groups in this one apartment complex. And so I've been sort of mentoring them, helping them see what steps they need to go through.
I
you
bought
know,
this
to
great
start this.
wok, and I hardly, well, I've looked at it. I've used it twice, I think, but it's a really nice.
Well,
and I
there's
thought,
some
oh,
great stir-fry recipes
Yeah.
in the UCAN cookbook.
And they're quick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But just the other point too is, you know, we're at multiple locations. There's also not one model. There's not one way to do community kitchens.
No.
It can be whatever the group wants and the
Okay.
participants, what they want to get out of it, and how, you know, do they want food to go home? Do they want to just have a social and have a meal together, right? There's different ways to do it.
Well, I tell you, we got about 2 minutes
Okay.
left, and I don't know, is there anything that
we've
you would like to
missed.
touch on that you know, would be
Just
important
looking
to inform the people who are viewing and let them know that how to get in touch with you? Anybody can participate and enjoy. Anybody can donate, of course.
Yes.
And,
You bet they can, yeah.
and I just was curious as whether there's any message you might want to leave with us.
Well, I think the socializing we haven't talked a lot about, and I think those social connections are really important for you to be a well-rounded, healthy person. And I think in addition to cooking with healthy food, the good social connections really help people feel better about themselves, and particularly for seniors who might become more isolated as they age and are perhaps
Right.
widowed. Those cooking groups, I think the socializing is as much a benefit as is the cooking together.
Well, that's good. Well, that's our program for today. And if you want to get in touch, they have a beautiful website. I've checked it out. You know, so the Nanaimo Community Kitchens Society, the www.nanaimo-community-kitchens-society.org. And there's a phone number that's being on the screen that you can call. And well, it'll probably be you that answers the phone.
Probably it
anything
will.
like that. and you'll be the collecting of the money.
And I'm happy to collect any money at all.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank
and
you.
I really
It was-
appreciate your participation and
privilege to
coming
be here.
in
Thank you.
inform us about this activity.